God, we're live. Oh my God, we're live. That's fantastic. I'm going to press the record button, then we're going to go to work. Welcome to the chat room. Thanks for having me. All right. Press record, and off we go. Nope, nope, nope. That one.
The evil genius.
Now that's a name I've not heard in a long time.
I have not begun to project my anger onto you.
Okay, terrific.
Flawless victory.
Well, here we are again, my friends. It is so nice to be back in this chair with this thing in my face. And I am excited. Oh, I'm very excited. Tonight, unfortunately, we have no sponsor, but I want to remind you very urgently that the best thing you can do is tell the people that you love them. Tell them regularly. Be honest and open with your feelings. Even if it's weird and awkward, it will pay off more in the end. I promise. With that out of the way, hello. How have you been? Things are good? Things are pretty good here. I don't know if you can hear this in the background, but at the time of recording, there is like a monsoon pelting this house. So, oh man, thanks for following. I really, really appreciate it. How nice to have you here. I hope you stick around. All right, let's do this. Ladies and gentlemen, guys, gals, non-binary pals, friends, writers, makers, doers, streamers, chatters, hangouters, soap makers, dancers, escorts, sex workers, pianists, flautists, anybody who knows how they make Cheetos, anyone who's ever used a Play-Doh Fun Factory, the entire football team for Burundi, anyone who's ever thrown eggs at a yacht, anyone who's ever been thrown out of a movie theater for having too good a time, the entire cast of the original Rent, anybody related to somebody who's been on television, and most importantly, the comrades. Hello and welcome to the Writers' Chat for September the 1st. And through no fault of my own, I continue to be John Adamus, the writer next door. And it is my absolute pleasure to welcome you right here to this very tiny little space on the internet wherein I'm going to spend the next 2 hours and help you become a better writer no matter what it is you're writing. How this works, if this is the first time you're checking it out, first of all, thank you for putting me in your ears. I will do my best to absolutely not let you down. Thanks. But how this works, since the last time we spoke, so oh my God, it's been how long? 2 weeks? More than 2 weeks? There was a brief hiatus because life happened, but I'm back now. So since the last time we've spoken, I have collected questions from all across social media, from all different kinds of writers, and I've wrangled 12 questions from that huge pile, and I will answer them along with the questions asked by those people in chat. Hi, chat. Twitch. Hey, what's up? YouTube. Hey, you doing good? Welcome. It's nice to have you here. You have questions, just fire them away. Ask in chat. I'll be more than happy to answer them. And that's what we do. We're going to answer some questions. We're going to talk some real talk about some real stuff. And I will probably mention butts more than once, just heads up. And we'll go from there. So that's how we do what we do. Let's get started, shall we? Let's start with question number 1. Question number 1. Hey, John, how do I know when I need an epilogue or just a single chapter? Okay. Can we cover a couple things here? First of all, an epilogue is itself a chapter. and I know you know this, but we're going to move along all the same. So the difference here between just one more chapter and an epilogue is a time jump. That's the only distinguishing factor. 99% of the time, an epilogue is a final chapter. However, there is a gap between it and the previous chapter of a significant amount of time. We're not talking like minutes. We're talking hours, days, weeks, months, years even. Because what we're trying to do in the epilogue that we're not really trying to do in just the final chapter is definitely show the consequences that occurred because of the events that were in the climax that have been resolved. Hello, thank you for coming here. Afternoon. Right, because you're on the other coast. But it's evening here. But hello, it's very, very nice to see you. So, epilogue. Epilogue has to do with the jump in time because we're trying to just show those consequences. More so than anything else, it's consequences first and foremost. There's other stuff along the way, but the consequences are the biggie. Really, really important stuff there. Without those consequences, the gap doesn't really make sense. The jump in time doesn't really make sense. It's going to feel unnecessary. It's going to feel like you just bolted this thing on because, oh my God, you can't stop talking about your characters, which is frankly a little weird. If it's immaterial that we jump forward in time and you still have more to say that's part of the third act resolution in your story or the fifth act resolution, whatever your resolution is, then you just need a chapter. But if you are purposefully trying to forward time so that you can show, hey, here's what happened well after our story. Here are the definite consequences, the definite effects. You need an epilogue. Is it possible, though, you need both? Yes. Now, I am on record here and elsewhere as being fairly anti-epilogue because I often see them in client work and they are super indulgent and super unnecessary. But all the same, hey, yeah, sometimes people just feel the need to do them, much like prologues. My gut says that if you're just trying to keep the story moving forward, it's probably just going to be another chapter that you need. But if you were purposely looking to put a nice bow on everything, you're looking at an epilogue. That's how I'd answer that question without extra context. If there was more context, I could give you a clearer answer. But for that, you'd have to say more next time. All right. Good first question. We're off to a banging start. I should warn you we should probably all pass out like little wet naps and maybe like a little glass of milk or some bread because there are some spicy questions coming tonight. Just so you're prepared. Okay, on we go. Question number 2. What is the best way to transition from being a short story writer to a novel writer? I love this question. And I like this question because it usually doesn't come up. Usually it's the other way around. I'm a novel writer. I want to start writing shorter things. How do I do it? The skill sets for transitioning are different. Yeah, they all include writing words. Nobody's doubting that. But the difference is when you are used to the short story format, the short story size, the short story scale, the short story needs, your tools are much more intensive. And a novel, especially for, depending on the side, the real short stories you're writing, a novel can feel like you have too much room. And your story will feel slower by comparison, or bloated, or just messy and unsure. Because you've got too much space by comparison. It is possible that you've got 20,000 more words than you're used to. Or 70,000 more, depending if you're really, really like a very, very short fiction writer. And that can feel like an enormous thing. Like, I talked to somebody this week who said, I have this idea for a novel. I know it's an idea for a novel because it's too big for a short story, but the last short story I wrote was literally 1/10 the size of this novel. I could fit 10 of these short stories in this novel space. What do I do? Here's how you do it. It goes back to organization. It goes back to outlining. And if you're looking for outlining, by the way, go check out the stream that's up on both Twitch and YouTube about outlining from Monday of this week. So it's the end of August. It is really going to help you. Also, there's a link to the PDF there, which is really, really important, and you should really, really get it because it will explain to you the things I'm talking about for those 90 minutes or whatever. But you transition from small thing to big thing by learning and improving how well you organize. That's different than if you're going from big thing to small thing and you have to learn how to be concise and learn how to be exact. With the short story writer, most frequently, you have to kind of let them roam a little bit more. Let them take their time. Let them say more things. Let them make more decisions quantitatively and qualitatively. But a novel writer who's going to short stories has to learn how to make fewer decisions and make them of more quality than quantity and focus down. It's about broadening horizons, ultimately. The best way to transition is to make sure you map out your act structure. Make sure you map out your scenes. Make sure you really understand what it is, what that conflict is, what's at the heart of the story, so that you know how to best put it all together. Organize, 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 and it'll make a huge difference. That's the best way to transition. Marvelous question. On to question 3. Question 3. What are some tools for getting better at showing more than telling? And the wording of this question is deliberate. The wording of this question is absolutely purposeful, because I do not want, hey, right here, look at me, look, right here, look at the monitor. Hey, I'm right here, hi. I do not want you to think, and I do not want you to propagate the idea that it's showing versus telling. They're not diametrically opposed. This is not G.I. Joe versus Cobra. This isn't, one side versus the other. They're not antagonistic. They're two different tools. And sometimes you're going to do some telling, and sometimes you're going to do some showing. And you're just going to have to be okay with that. And I know the internet. I know. Hey, I know. The internet is all up on you to do more, do this and not that. Well, you know what? They can go kick rocks. G.I. Joe was knowing. Yeah, that's legit. I realize that, but I was trying to come up with like a nice binary, like an oppositional side. Like I should have gone with, I don't know, humans and Cylons, maybe? Or Ninja Turtles and the Foot? I don't know. Faces and Heels? Is that 2 inside? I wish Jeff were here. But yeah, like I could have come up with a different. But you know what I meant, right? So how do we get better at showing more than telling? You need to have a clearer picture in your head. What's the thing in your head? Empire versus Rebellion. Yeah, see, I could have totally done Empire versus Rebellion. Why didn't I think, golly gee, why didn't I think of that? It's not like I talk about that all the other time and all the other everythings son of a nuts. All right, anyway, moving on. When you're showing, the thing you're showing, and I don't care whether we're talking about the chair on page 6 or the thing in chapter 22, the idea, the concept of showing means you're taking the picture in your head, whatever it might be, and you are trying to relate as much of it as possible, as clearly as possible, so that the reader can picture it. Part of that's going to be language flexibility, the words you choose, and how you organize them, so that there is a sense of, hey, you're in the room too. You're seeing the same thing I'm seeing, or you're seeing the same thing that the point of view character is seeing. And that's different than just telling something flat and cold and impersonal. That's a chair. That's telling. That's grandma's chair. It is worn much like grandma. More showing. But you get better at showing by getting better at relating the mental picture. I feel really sorry that I just said grandma's real worn. That's not a great verb to use for a grandma. But anyway, we'll make up for it when I get angry about an angry question coming soon. The point of showing is to relay the visual information in your brain as clearly as you can. So how you practice that, you picture things and then try to relate them to other people. There's a great party game I can strongly recommend where you sit across from somebody and you each write something down and then hand it to the other person, and then they get to ask questions and describe the thing that they're holding up on their card. Practice that. Practice describing things. Don't just say, oh, it's a glass of tea. Oh, it's a cat. Okay, fine. That's what it is. You're telling me what it is. But if I were to imagine it, if I were to visualize it, if I were to see it as though it were in front of me, what would I see? Would you just stop at, it's a cat? Okay. Is it a mountain lion? Is it a cheetah? Is it a house cat? Is it a kitten? All of those things. Is it a saber-toothed tiger? All of those things are cats. So don't just stop at the first descriptor because it ticks the box and you want to move on because you're afraid the audience will get bored. Because they came to you for description, so give them some description. Talk about its size, talk about its fur, talk about its color, talk about its weight, talk about whether or not it's rubbing up and down against your microphone. Whatever you need to get across so that the reader sees what you're seeing, or what the reader sees what the point of view character is seeing. That's how you get better at showing. It's decision making. It's about encouraging flexibility. You don't rigidly hold on and go, oh my God, you have to see it this way. It's this thing, damn it. Because all that's going to do, all that hyper overtelling does, is it screams insecurity. It screams, hey, please like what I'm writing. Please, oh, please, oh, please, oh, please, oh, please like me. Like me. Do you like me? Do you like what I'm writing? Do you like what I'm writing? It's good, right? Like everybody at home says I'm really good at it. I really want to be good at this. Do you like it? 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 Which is like half a step away from the little kid in the backseat. Are we there yet? Are we there yet? Are we there yet? Are we there yet? And they're both equally grating. We want to avoid both of those situations. So get comfortable with the idea of wherever your reader is should be right next to your point of view character. And you want to steer them relative to the action and direct their face, their attention, their eyes, their imagination, their everything towards seeing specific things, not at a hyper-specific detail, like, is this going to be on the final? I need to know exactly how many Paisley whirls there are on the chair. But instead of being hyper-specific and basically flexing as to how many times you can spell the word whirl, instead paint a picture so that the reader feels like they're in the room too. And then it's just practice, 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 practice. If you want another tool, fine. You want another tool? Here's another tool. I need you to watch more television. I need you to watch more television with the sound off and no captions. Meaning I just need you to look at silent pictures. And then I need you to write down what it was you watched for some period of time in an action-by-action way as though you wrote the thing on screen. Not in screenplay format, but in straight up what happened on the TV show. Don't give me the backstory about, oh, well, this is this character played by... Nope. Just assume I know these things. Assume we're just doing it in the middle of a chapter. Just give me the characters and what are they doing. But if you just give me a recitation like this character did this character said that, this character... I'm going to lose interest because you're just giving me the recipe. I don't want the recipe. I want to feel like I'm reading the show that you watched on TV. I didn't see it on the screen. I got to see it on the page and imagine my own screen in my brain. And if I'm not doing that, it's because you failed to do it for me. You failed to give me the tools to imagine the movie you want me to see. So watch TV without sound and without captions and just take one scene. Take 5 minutes. Set a timer, whatever you need to do. And just try and relay that information, not necessarily with hyper clarity, like you're trying to get everything right because you want somebody to come and pat you on the head. That's not what we're doing here. Instead, what we're talking about is relay it so that the other person goes, oh, that sounds great. Cool. That's what we're aiming for. Practice, 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 practice. And over time, as you lighten up, Francis, and get better at understanding how you want the reader to feel while they read whatever it is that you wrote, you will find your voice and you will find the best way to be both a combination of show and tell that works for you one way or the other on a per scene, per book basis. Great start to the evening. All right, let's, while I poke some things over here with Twitch, anybody, anywhere, have questions?
I have a question.
Yes, you do. What's up?
So I came across the third person objective voice.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm wondering, with it kind of creating a distance between the character and the reader, can it really be done in such a way to make it work for a modern audience? Yeah,
totally it can. What you're going to need to do that, successfully, it's a combination of things. And then we will rewind to epilogues in a minute, but I want to answer this one on modern voice. It's going to be strength of voice. Look for shorter paragraph structure. And look for front-loading your sentences more than your back-loading sentences. Really get grabby up front. I know that sounds weird, but you want to hold attention early with shorter sentences in shorter paragraphs. It will feel punchier. It's the best way to do it. It's not the best way overall, but it's probably how you're going to engage the average audience.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Thank you.
All right. If I come up with a better answer in the next 10 seconds, I'm going to come back to it.
Fair
But I'm
enough.
going to answer this question on prologue epilogue. In my view, prologue epilogue is a great place to do big time jumps. Yeah. 100 years ago or 2 years later. Yeah, that's totally legit. That is absolutely legit that prologue epilogue, either or both, serve as a tool for time movement. Totally fine. Is there any reason why labeling those as prologue epilogue is bad? No. If you're just doing it for the sake of having time, nope, not bad. Where prologue epilogue goes bad, like spoiled milk, is when the stuff that happens in the prologue, or, well, mostly it's a problem with prologues. In the prologue, things go off the rails because you start dumping way too much plot, and you're basically writing an early chapter 1. When epilogues go bad, there's no real sense of those consequences. So there's no real sense of like, hey, we've resolved the story. This is the, after we come back from commercial and we get a nice little wrap up. Instead of having that nice little wrap up, we just have this sort of belaboring, oh, by the way, there's this, and oh, by the way, there's that. And the next thing you know, we have 5 different endings for Return of the King, and we just want to go home. But if you're just using it as a way to sort of constrain or manipulate or fiddle with time, totally, you're doing great. That's valid. Good stuff. Excellent. Good questions. Very good questions. I'm coming back to third person. Give me more details on this third person thing. Third person. What?
Okay. So you know how kind of like in older novels, like Jane Eyre was the first one I think of.
Yeah, Jane Eyre's fine. We can do Jane Eyre.
Yeah, but someone's saying that they kind of like to create distance because they want to create a mystery behind the character's motivations.
Sure. Yeah, that's a thing.
So that's why it just made me curious about it and like that writing style. And well, is there a way to translate it when normally modern stories like try to put you like right into the head of the character?
Yeah, it's not bad to do. We don't really think about things in terms of I want to create mystery for the reader anymore. Not like that. Usually the mystery, so we have to get nerdy for a second. Forgive me. The old way to do things. Let's go way back. The old way of doing things involved creating mystery as though the motivation of the reader, the motivation of the character was unknown. And that we would have to read to find out why they did the thing they did. Over time, thanks to the 1960s, more or less, we stopped caring so much about that, and we wanted that stuff explained to us because we wanted the mystery to be, instead of what's called rear-facing, meaning, why did you do that thing? Keep reading and find out. We wanted it forward-facing. Hey, who did this thing? Let's find out. And it feel as though we are more connected to story. It was the late 1950s, early 60s. No one specific book. It was just sort of a collective movement. It involves weed and racism if you really want to split hairs about it. But we want the overall aesthetic there to be one where how you relate to the reader and how much distance you put between the reader and the story. This is why we collapse psychic distance in our more modern stuff, so the reader feels like they're in the room. Whereas when you read something like Austen or Eyre or Wuthering Heights or any of the old stuff, it feels like the reader is floating like a Macy's Day balloon, like at the top of the room, miles and miles away from everything. It was just the style that was done. You can still accomplish that now. It happens all the time in giant epic fantasy novels because the things are supposed to be so big. There's so many characters and so much stuff, and the world is so much that zooming out is the only way to really see it. The problem is that the more you zoom out, the less focused everything feels because you've got to stay that far out in order to picture everything the way the writer intends. Do I think it could come back? I would prefer it not, but it is possible that it'll come back. Sure. Yeah. I really don't want it to come back. I need to make that like hella super clear. Yeah, I don't want it to come back. It can go away. Cool. All right. Just for a minute, I'm going to add a thing. I don't know if this is going to crash, but let's find out. Okay. I don't know if I just crashed everything or not, but whatever. I'll deal with the problem that I'm getting a little notification for later, because I don't know. That's going to be like a Googleable thing. Anyway, it's fine. Fantastic. I'm glad that it's still up. Good. Any other questions? Twitch, YouTube, Zoom. Else we're going to get spicy. I don't have a spicy sound effect. I wish I did. How about we just go with, hang on. Do I have a spicy sound effect? Huh. I'm legit looking for a spicy sound effect. Bear with me. Yep. I have a sort of spicy one. No, it's not the sound of this. Like I wanted like a sizzling sound, but I don't have one. I got to load one. So for now, we're just going to go with the Inception horn. All right, on to question 4. The first of imagine a fajita at a chain restaurant that's known for being kitschy. Question number 4. Can a trunk novel... Hang on. There's a question from someone in chat. How would you contain the scope of, a fantasy novel as it grows so you don't end up forced to zoom out instead of trying to follow so many threads? Well, if I didn't have the ability to say, hey, have fewer threads, I would try to not follow so many at once. And then I would just have more chapters. I would stick to one point of... Let's say you're doing multiple point of view because, I don't know, you don't like life. So you've got multiple point of view, and you are bludgeoning the reader over the head with an incredibly dense, hyper-complicated story. Just let's suppose, for the sake of argument. What you want to do to make sure that you don't have to zoom out so frequently, because you're going to have to zoom out. There's really, you don't want to get into a situation where you never zoom out. Zooming out, pulling back with your psychic distance so that you get those scenes in Lord of the Rings or whatever where everybody's running and you see how nice New Zealand is. You need moments like that so the audience can adjust their context, so they can catch their breath, so we can go, oh shit, look at that crane shot, look at that helicopter shot, look at those stunt doubles. That's cool. And it gives us a chance to go, readers and viewers need that. If you deny them that because, oh my God, I've just got all these pieces and I got to keep everything moving, they're not going to stick with your book because they're not going to have a chance to sort of collapse and sort of file away the information. Those moments to catch our breath help us create context. Okay, I understand the last 5 chapters. Cool. All right, so before I go into chapter 6, let me just sit for a minute and kind of wrap my head around the story so far so then we can go forward. If you don't do that, if you don't zoom out, it's just going to be one thing after another, and that's not the ideal. That is not how you create the idea of, it was a page turner, I can't put it down. That's not what a page turner is. What you've got is just a hyper congested thing that actually needs thinning out. How you manage that, if you can't reduce the number of threads, slow down on them. Focus on one at a time and then just go to the next and go to the next and go to the next. I also guarantee you that as you do that, as you slowly move from point of view to point of view, you will find out that you have too many points of view. And then you just contain the scope by knowing that you don't need to cover all bases, because it's not like there's going to be a final exam and the reader has to take a test and see what's up. They can just enjoy the story. So if you have to narrow your scope so that you can dive deeper on things, great, cool, do that. But it's never, I can't say never, it is very, 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 very seldom to your advantage to go as broad as possible anymore. That ship has sailed with the series about the giant pointy metal sword chair. And now everybody and their mother is trying to make big, giant, broad things. And everybody's tired of it. So spare us. And instead, just do one thread at a time. Move to the next thread. Move to the next thread. Yeah, the series is in fact so broad that it ain't even done yet. Yep. Winds of Winter, My Aunt Diane. Is that what it was called? I don't know. I don't really give a shit, frankly. I know I just swore and YouTube's going to send me a note, but yeah, let's not. All right? Cool. Great question though. But you want to limit your scope by limiting your plot and limiting your dynamics. We don't need to see everything. You just got to keep us focused on one thing and really develop the hell out of it rather than have 6 things that are half developed. I would rather eat one sandwich that is tasty than take bites out of 6. Bring me the appetizer, not the appetizer sampler. Cool. Great stuff. Question number 4. Can a trunk novel ever get published? Okay, look. Controversial opinion. Yes. A trunk novel can get published. The likelihood of the trunk novel getting published as your debut novel, real slim, and getting slimmer by the microsecond. But over time, after, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, again, I'm focusing first on traditional publishing. You get a couple other books under your belt. You demonstrate that you can grow an audience. You demonstrate that you can maintain a healthy sales relationship. That's something that's going to come up in other questions. But you make sure that you can be of benefit financially to your publisher. And after a few books that are accessible, that do sell, yeah, bring out the trunk novel. Now, let me go over here and talk to my self-publishing indie people. What up? So, look, just because we have the ability, hang on. There we go. Just because we have the ability to publish any thought that runs through our heads does not mean that we should publish every thought that runs through our heads. It's really, really important that you don't lose sight. This is going to come up again. Lose sight of the fact that your job wasn't to get published so that you could say you were published. It was your job to get published so that loads of other people could enjoy the thing you wrote because you wanted to give the world a story, much like somebody somewhere wanted to give the world a Coke. I realize I'm dating myself with that reference, but I'm sticking with it. It's a good one. Yes, you can publish your trunk novel. Should you? No, not regularly. Not until after you've published a few other things and can go back to your trunk novel with sharp knives and, wicked sticks and a willingness to gut it and fix it, or just flat out admit that it's a hell baby and a pile of darlings and it really can just be a thing that you love that you will not dump upon the rest of the world. But yes, it is possible to publish a trunk novel. Do so at your own peril with caution, because when you farm this out and I'm just going to publish it. I can publish things. I am a self-publishing magnate. And you publish your trunk novel and it is no good, you are only perpetuating the stigma that self-publishing is for the people who, suck. Yes, in chat, I agree with you, Jesse, that you do want to try and write a story that people want to read twice. That is a really, really good point. The vast majority of trunk novels are not worth reading twice. You might want to read it twice because it's yours and you think, oh my God, I'm not saying yours, Jesse. I mean yours, the collective listener out there. You gotta do it for them and not for you. And there are very, very purposeful and specific people I'm thinking of when I say that into this microphone. But how can I tell if my current work in progress is a trunk novel, you ask? What a baller question. Here's how you can tell. You give it to someone else who's never read it before, who doesn't have a pro-you bias, so don't give it to your mom. But you give it to somebody whose professional opinion, oh, that's some bitchin' thunder. That's really cool. So if the power goes out, I'm glad we're ending on this question. It was very, it shook the whole room. This is great. I love shit like that. I know. I'm swearing some more, YouTube. I know. Thanks for flagging it. Anyway, you can tell if your thing's a trunk novel because of, a couple different factors. One, somebody else who reads it who doesn't know you and doesn't have to be nice to you and hold your hand will tell you that the book is technically written well, but not interesting. Two, you've been belaboring on it for, years and years and years, and you've just never made headway. Just never made any headway. Like, you just keep writing and you keep getting stuck in revision hell, and you keep loving this idea, and you keep bashing your head against the wall, and you keep trying to do it, and you keep trying to do it, and you keep finding reasons and excuses, and you never get back to just doing it. Or the idea is so convoluted, just plain old convoluted, that you couldn't possibly begin to know how to market it, and your gut reaction is, well, somebody else can deal with that. Yep, all of those things are signs of trunk novels. If, by the way, you live in fear of the trunk novel, yep, just move on to something else, because it's not something to be afraid of. Everybody writes them. Just like everybody gets rejected, you write trunk novels all the time. Partially completed fragments of ideas. They just kind of hang out in a drawer or in a cloud file or a desktop folder labeled, taxes next to the porn. Who knows? But trunk novels aren't bad. They're just they're attempts at better stories. And then you just move on to the other one. It's not a waste of time because it will have helped make you a better writer going forward. But it is possible that your current work in progress is, in fact, a trunk novel. I can guarantee you that if you're real new at this, probably is. Just statistically saying, probably is. And that's okay. It doesn't mean you're, bad. Doesn't mean you should give up. Just means, yeah, it's a trunk novel. Now we're going to go, try again using more tools and more skills. That's all. Great question. Love that question. Fired up again. Here we go. Ready for the real spicy one? Ready to knock this one out the park? Oh, yeah. Boom! Question number 5. This is the gold star question. John, I'm stuck in revision hell. How does this affect my relationship to my publisher? It torpedoes it. Just straight out kills it. Here's why. Yeah, it's cool. Thanks for, throwing up links, spam guy. Cool. Enjoy your time. Anyway, how does this affect your relationship with your publisher? It kills it. Straight out. Dunzo. Why? Because the publisher should have made clear to you via the contract that things are on a timeline. And if you can't complete tasks to timeline, that makes it harder for them to make the money they need to make on your product so that you can get paid, so that other people can get paid, so that they stay in business. The longer you delay, you are forcing them to move your stuff further back in the calendar. Oh, it's going to be spring. Oh, it's going to be fall. It's going to be next year spring, next year fall, 2 years out, 3 years out, however many times out. And all that conveys is that they're unhappy with you without them outright saying, we're unhappy with you. But yeah, if they keep bumping you back, even if they pat you on the head and go, oh, it's okay, finish your work, it's totally fine. First of all, the contract should have provisions for that. Yeah, well, yes, if you have great cachet like a television deal and fame and you're a big old white dude, yeah, some of these rules don't apply, but for the vast majority of us who are not those human beings, the more frequently your publisher has to bump you back, the less confidence they have in your project, the more likely they are to drop you ultimately, because you're somebody who can't finish. Now, of course, this is all hinging on the fact that you have a contract that has specified dates and times and arrangements for this, because you should have advance money hanging in the balance here. It's to your advantage to, not take forever and a day. And if I can draw a parallel to some of the current social things going on, there are resources available to you to get you out of hell. You can go talk to a writing coach. You can go get help from a freelance editor. You can consult a writing group. You can do loads of different things so that you're not willfully stuck in revision hell. The fact that you want to double down and stay there, I'm just in revision hell. I got to do this myself. I got myself in. I can get myself out. All that conveys to the publisher is this is not a person I want to have a long-term business relationship with, because the help is out there and they're not taking it. Why should I, the publisher, put money behind this person? If I got to keep bumping your stuff back, it's not because I'm super hyped for it to come back. It's because I want it to be future me's problem to figure out how I'm going to make my money back. It will kill your relationship with your publisher. Now, of course, if, you don't have a contract and this is a matter of like a revise and resubmit, hey, make these changes and send it back to me. That's not a publishing deal. That is somebody saying that if you get it back to me within, let's say, 20 days, I'll reconsider, I'll take a look and see what else I feel. But that's not the same as a publishing deal. No contract, no deal. So if you were stuck in revision hell because somebody said, hey, rewrite this and send it back to us. If you're unable to do that, you're in for a bad time, as they say. Because the majority of this job is going to come down to your ability to revise and work in a timely, organized fashion with a deadline. And you're not demonstrating that you can. So that's how it affects your relationship in a big, giant way. I've been the guy who's had to tell authors, hey, you're out. And nobody likes that. I don't like doing it. The author didn't like hearing it. But it is what it is. It happens. I would prefer it not happen to you. Try not to get stuck there because there are solutions. Go talk to a coach, go talk to an editor, let go of some of the darlings that are possibly chaining you down to the draft as is and make some decisions. If this is just a simple matter of like, I don't have the time or I'm life has happened and I have to, adjust how I'm doing. Yeah, I get it, but you still have a commitment to honor. Again, because contract. But if this is just kind of like, I'll revise and resubmit, your window is probably closed. And then you're just going to resubmit it cold. And then we move on from there. That's how it all affects. This is why I go nearly hoarse once a month telling people, hey, you're on a schedule. Learn, discipline, and follow deadlines. And don't let your pride or your ego overrule your ability to get things done. Like if you need help, say you need help and go get help. Complaining and worrying and kvetching about, oh my God, this sucks. This, go get help. Just go get help. Go get help. You want help? I'll help you. I'm always around. I'm happy to help. Ask anybody in this chat. I'll help. I'm down for it. Let's go. I want to help you. I want to get you out of revision hell. But understand that your publisher's not going to be pleased. Not because you're getting help, but because you haven't gotten help so far. Please don't do that. It is true. I am always around. It is a disgusting part of my job that I am almost always around. Although, like I'm pretty much not in this room, but sometimes I'm over in that room. And sometimes I'm down the stairs and over in that room over there. But I'm always around. All right. First spicy question. Done. On to less spicy question number 6. In a romance novel, where are the stakes? Okay, this question came up because I was talking to some romance agents and editors. We can take spicier. Oh, don't worry. Those are coming. In a romance novel, where are the stakes? Here are the stakes. They're in the potential dynamic of the relationship at the heart of the romance novel, and secondarily in the stakes of the plot. So the stakes are, will this relationship work out? Will it be a secret? Do they out themselves? Do they admit it? Do they follow through on their feelings? Do they finally get together and do the pantsless stuff? All that stuff. Those are the key stakes, meaning the big stakes. The fact that, there's this secondary character who's an antagonist, like, oh, it's my evil boss who's trying to get me fired. Those are stakes, but they are lesser stakes, non-key stakes, because they're important to the plot. But in a romance novel, just like a porn, we're not really here for the plot, are we? So, yeah, the stakes are almost always going to be 90%, well, maybe 80 80 to 90% focused on the relationship dynamic, developing the relationship, bringing it to consummation, depending on your level of romance writing, creating tension around it, especially if you've got a love triangle or something going on, or other kinds of relationship geometry, and balancing that and making it work out for somebody's advantage and somebody's disadvantage. The stakes are in the relationship. Always. Don't lose sight of them, and don't park them off into like, well, that's the guy who framed me for murder, and now that I'm out, I can finally love again. That's nice, and that's a real interesting B-plot, but that's only ever going to be B-plot because this is a romance novel with a shirtless dude on the cover, so let's be real about what we're writing. Stakes are in the relationship. All right. Woo. Well, I chug some tea. Any questions from anybody in any of the chats? Just a heads up, the real spicy stuff's coming. Oh, man. Why am I getting dinged? No, stop it. I'm busy. All right. Questions? Anybody? The rant bell. Yes, the rant bell is coming. I'm literally reaching. Linus, I need the bell. I know, buddy. I know. Linus, what did you do to this thing? Why did you lick this? Ugh. Thank you for loving the rant bell. All right. Questions? Anybody? Anybody? Twitch? YouTube? Zoom? We ready to rock and roll? We ready to do this? All right. Prepare for spice. Question 7. I'm about to pit mad. What do I need to know? Linus, first thing you need to know is Linus is going to ring this bell. One more, buddy. One more. Good boy. Good boy. You're a very good boy. You're the bestest cat. Go sit over there, though. You're like right on my notes. Okay. You're about to pit mad. I'm sorry. Okay. Whew, here we go. I would prefer you didn't pit mad, but since you apparently have free time, you're going to. By the way, here's the reason why I'm against pit mad. The way you win pit mad is you get the same end result you get on any other day where you don't pit mad. It's just somebody reading your stuff, which is the same thing you were getting any other day you submit. There's no real winning unless you're really winning the attention of people in a social media hashtag, which is not the same as having a writing career, which is not the same as developing an audience, which is not the same as becoming a better writer. It's just about being popular on the internet, and that's about as useful to people as a screen door to a goldfish. But hey, you're about to pit mad, so oh golly gee, here we go. One, your pitch is probably going to go talk to a wall. Your pitch isn't going to go anywhere, and if it does, it won't go long, because most pitches are constructed in very, very stiff formulaic ways. And they usually go, I want to make sure I read directly from my notes, because if you're on the Discord, by the way, you've seen me talk about this. Let's see. A pitch goes like this. Person has a situation, but, and then it ends with a question, and then a genre tag. That's not a pitch. That's just an assemblage of ingredients in a pitch. What I want to do right now for you, since I can't disabuse you from the notion of wasting your entire day doing pit mad, what I'm going to do is then instead equip you to pitch better than, you know what, YouTube? I'm going to swear. Are you ready? I want you to pitch better than any motherfucker who's going to pit or mad tomorrow. Ready? Here we go. This is how you do it. You need 3 things in some combination, in some order. Ready? Here we go. You need stakes. Stakes. What are we fighting for? What are we doing? What's the danger? What's the risk? Okay? You need that. Second, you need a character. Somebody has to do the thing that's causing the stakes. And 3, you need a goal. So they're going to try and do this thing to what end? Why? You need those three things. Stakes, character, goal. Now, let's add one wrinkle to this thing. Do not frame any part of this as a question. We are taking the training wheels off your pitching bicycle right now. Yes, steaks, preferably like a nice marbled steak that you can put a little butter on and then slap into a hot, dry pan and get a nice brown sear. Also, if you've been on the Discord, there were pictures of the most recent steak I had. It was delicious. But yes, to build a pitch, instead of building it around like the really interesting recitation of facts that you think help your story stand out from all the other stories, facts don't move pitches. Potential moves pitches. And where do we get potential out of a story? In the stakes, in the danger, in the possibility of somebody accomplishing or not accomplishing something and then suffering or winning as a result. So if you're going to pit mad, oh man, I really, again, want to make super clear, please don't. But if you're gonna, think about the stakes. Think about the risks. Think about why the character is doing the thing they're doing. This is especially true if you are in a pitching in a genre where everybody and their mother is using the same sort of general cosmetics. How many princesses are there who are tired of being in the kingdom? How many, stubbly rogues out there have a heart of gold? How many different people learn that there is a world just parallel to their own and they fall into it? How many different prophesied children are there? Yawn. Stretch. Yeah. Everybody and their mother is going to come to you with the same things. How are you going to make yours stand out? Not because you're going to name your character something with some extra apostrophes, but because you are going to frame your pitch around potential and challenge. So that way a reader can be excited to see if that thing, whatever thing they're trying to accomplish, whatever risk they're taking for whatever goal they have in mind, if they do it. Because that's what makes a pitch engaging. Because if I just give you facts, we're all going to be asleep in 10 minutes. And I don't want that for you. The other thing you should know about Pitman, it's a colossal waste of time. It's a giant masturbatory session of people hyper excited, completely misunderstanding the general idea. You're just pitching. You're just pitching. You're just pitching. You're just talking about your stuff. You do it every other day. How are you going to get better at it? You don't just wait for the one day a year to do it. It's not like a holiday. You just pitch. You just talk about your stuff. Hey, check this out. Hey, check this out. This is what's up. I'm doing this. And then you just go do it. One of the most disturbing things I saw today was somebody saying, hey, we don't do this in screenwriting. We should have screen pit. No, you shouldn't. These pit contests are the exact antithesis of building community. Because they're going to pit. See what I did there? They're going to pit everybody against each other for the same thing they're already trying to do, which is just get somebody else to read their stuff. Don't do it. Just pitch. Just pitch, man. Just pitch. You want to get better at pitching? We don't have to have PitMad to do it. You can just rattle off some pitches. You know what we can do next week? You know what we can do Monday when I have another stream? We could just do pitches. We could just do pitches. I'd be happy to talk about pitches. Because it doesn't need a special day. It doesn't need a special thing. I can just pop the microphone on and we can just go. Pitching. Because it's not as hard as everybody makes it out to be, because they make it hard so that you feel like it should be difficult, so then you live down to that expectation, so that when one of these events comes around, you're like, oh shit, it's Pitman, what am I gonna do? You're just gonna pitch, you're just gonna talk about your stuff and make it sound exciting for somebody who doesn't have the same information you do. But you're gonna Pitman, so I don't know, bring a pillow, hydrate, get over yourself. Do we want some more spice? I think we want more spice. Waiter, bring me question 8. What does an agent look for in an elevator pitch? Well, funny you should ask. They look for stakes. They look for potential. They do not look for a recitation of tired facts. They look for some point they can turn around and sell. Because remember, when you see the word agent, you can sub that in for the word pimp. So what they're looking for in your pitch is the ability to make a profit from your labor. So there has to be something highly marketable, highly engaging for other people. So maybe that's the way you frame the battle between good versus evil in your story. Maybe that's the way you describe the floating city that is slowly crashing into the ocean. Maybe that's the way you talk about, hey, this one has, sentient cockroaches who travel through time to ruin the time stream for humans. Sure. Cool. Maybe your character is an anthropomorphic velociraptor. Cool. The agent is looking for some element of your pitch that has potential they can turn around and make into an interesting thing for someone else. Because that's how they keep their job. Because if your pitch blows, they can't sell it. If they don't sell it, they don't eat, because such is the life of being a pimp. So they're going to want to make sure they trot you out to the street corner in your Sunday finest with your strongest elements so that they can hold over this idea they have that they're in charge and you're just along for the ride. Oh, pimps. Oh, pimps. Remember what happened to Huggy Bear? I'm dating myself with another reference. Yeah, it's like that. An agent isn't looking for the new hot idea because there aren't any. We've been telling stories for thousands of years. What they're looking for is the potential and how you're framing your idea. What can they turn around and market to somebody else so that they can take a cut of your exploitable labor and then say, "Ooh, I work so hard for my people." Yep. You wrote an email, huh? I write emails too. Nobody's giving me 10% of shit. But hey, you worked real hard there, bro. But an agent is looking for potential. So make sure your pitch suggests potential. What could happen? How bad could it be? And why is it a big deal? It's not enough to say the planet could be destroyed. Yeah, I have no frame of reference for that. But my planet could be destroyed, and my mom lives on that planet. All of a sudden, now there's something interesting. Think about a pitch in terms of the story's potential, not potential as a marketable object, potential within the narrative. Why is this conflict that drives this plot a big damn deal? Go there, think there, start there, work with that. That's what your agent is looking for in the elevator pitch. I think we need more spice. I really do. My tongue is not afire. I think we need more spice. I think it's time to go to question 9. Ooh. I wish I had fire alarms. But we'll settle for the red alert. Tell me 3 things that not enough people are talking about when it comes to getting published. Oh boy. Strap in, kids. We're going to work. 1. It's still going to be Tuesday. You're still going to have to get up. You're still going to have to take a shower. You're still going to have to take your pills. You're still going to have to drink water. You're still going to have to, clip your toenails and go outside and pee, and not pee outside, but I think you know what I mean. You're still going to have to go through your day. You're still going to have to do stuff. Being published is not the be-all, end-all. It's just not. Being published is the start of the whole next round of things, like revisions and marketing and waiting and dealing with your advance, or growing your community and your audience and laying out pre-sales and writing sales copy. There's loads of other things that have to happen, but it's not the end result. And if you ever want to add things to the list of, hey, John, how do I spot writers who aren't going to make it? Look for the writers who talk about being published as though it's the be-all, end-all. Man, when I get published, I will have made it. That's where the race is done. No. That's where the race is just starting. I think about it instead not as a marathon, one single race with one single end. Think about it in terms of one of those Iron Person like mega triathlons where there's a marathon of 3 parts: the marathon of running, a marathon bike riding, and a marathon of swimming. Yeah, you wrote the book. That was a marathon of running. Now it's time to go marathon bike ride or swim or whatever the second leg in an Iron Person is. Because now there's a whole nother thing. And then after that, after you go get signed somewhere, if you're going to go traditional, or after you go launch your book and write your sales copy, if you're going indie or self, then you have another marathon thereafter to keep hype alive. So, item number 1, the world is not suddenly changing for you the minute you get published. And it is grotesquely juvenile and ill-formed and immature to think so. Getting published is just one step in the process. It's not the end step. It's not even close to the end step. It's just a step. Item number 2. If you don't have a contract, if there's not a stated contract, it doesn't matter. All those handshake deals, all those promises are vacuous. They're empty. You need a contract. Any publisher who hands you a contract is immediately somebody you can slightly trust more than a publisher who works without one. Do not let the illusion, the dream, the big fluff of, oh my God, I'm going to be published, lead you down one of those dark and windy alleyways where there's like a publishing thing under a cardboard box with a stick and you're going to get snared by it. You need a contract. That contract should spell out things like when you're getting paid and how much you're getting paid and when you can expect the thing to be published. Now, if you're self-publishing or working with a small press and the deadlines are much more flexible, there's still, if not a contract for yourself, there should be at least an organized calendar approach to things. You know when you're going to roll your book out. You know when you have to write your sales copy by. You know when you need to get that cover set up. You know when you need to do the next thing in your list. Organization is everything. So when it comes to traditional publishing, that contract helps organize that stuff. If you're going to self-publish, you need to generate your own organization as though you, the writer, are also a separate you, the publisher. And while you are working on the same project, making this book happen, you're coming at it from 2 very different sides, and you need to treat it like that. You need to treat it like that. Third thing. You need to disabuse yourself of the way things used to be. Because, well, have you seen the world lately? It's either on fire or drowning or full of people who hate each other or full of opportunities and slammed doors and crushing poverty. Like, the world is just, look at it. It's a mess. And if you're going to hold on to your creative dream as though you were expecting it to be the same way it was 10, 15, 20, 25 years ago, you are in for a giant bucket of disappointment with extra sauce. Things the way they used to be are pretty much gone, or they're the exclusive province of such an elite group and a high pedestal comrades that we're never going to get there. So rather than hold on to the pipe dream, seriously reconsider challenging things. Like, for example, did you know that there's a cardboard shortage in the world? Did you know that, the number of printers globally has been reduced by like 20-something%? Did you know that global shipping has been slowed by months? Have you considered that the vast majority of human beings under a certain age outnumber the group of people who are over that age? Have you thought about the fact that the majority of human beings right now who do reading do not read a physical book? And the argument of, I just like a book in my hands, is not the great big wonderful party that you say it is? Consider digital. Consider a digital-only thing so that it can go straight out to people. Consider getting some equipment and recording your own audio. Maybe hire out an editor to help it, but rather than wait on some other company, why not take advantage of this stuff? rather than hold on to the beyond antiquated archaeological idea that someone else will come along and do your marketing for you. Learn how to market. Stumble your way through it. Be willing to screw it all up so that you can make it better with subsequent books. Build an effective community that doesn't, spend its time not writing, or an echo chamber that doesn't just tell you when everything's great. Challenge every assumption. Not because everything is, wrong and bad, but because it's worth challenging so that you can carve out your own path and do whatever it is you want to do and shape it however it is you want to shape it. That's going to be more important than anything else. So why can't you do things differently than everybody else? Why couldn't you record your own audiobook? Why couldn't you market your own book differently? How much would it really cost to get a billboard and put it on a highway? How really is it, would it be worth do you really need to make physical swag? What if you made digital swag? What if you had variant covers? What are you willing to challenge? What ideas do you have that you're like, oh, this is how everybody does it? Just make a list. Here are the things I think how everybody makes this stuff. And then think about different ways to challenge it. How would you do it differently? What if you didn't have to be like everybody else? Well, they market their book this way. Fine. What if you couldn't do that? What would your other options be? How else could you do it? Why couldn't you take, Lego people or little action figures and act out a scene in your book in a 1-minute TikTok and then include a link as to where they can buy the rest of the drama? Why not? Why not? Why couldn't you get a microphone and then record, or have someone record your audiobook? Why not? Why not? Because that's not what you wanted? Because that's not legit? Because what other excuse do you want to make? The more things you make about how you have to have things a certain way, the harder you are making it to have things done. Because you are narrowing the scope of success. You are not guaranteeing greater success from that at all. You're just limiting the size of the bullseye that you're desperate to hit. Publishing is not the be-all, end-all. Publishing is all about organization. And publishing absolutely positively should be revolutionized on a person-by-person basis. Those are the 3 things I wanted to talk about when it comes to getting published, because way too many people, absolutely way too many people, continue to hold on to these entrenched ideas without even bothering to question them. Probably because it's too easy. Because if I just hold on to this idea, it'll stay this way. I won't have to work too hard. I won't have to fail. I won't have to look stupid. I won't have to get rejected. But you shouldn't have a problem with those things, because you can decide to quit or not. It's up to you, not them. So if you screw up, let's say you totally completely miss out on the marketing. All right, take a week off, come back and do it again. Why? Why not? You just keep trying. That's the whole purpose of doing this yourself, right? You wanted to do this yourself. You wanted to control every part of the process, so then control every goddamn part of the process. Don't blame other people because you're afraid. Own your fear, own your ego, own your pride, and move forward. Pitches aren't scary. Publishing can be managed. You just need to organize. You just need to try your best over and over and over and over again, and then realize that the vast majority you will encounter who swear up and down like a million times, oh, I'm going to be a writer, will never goddamn finish a draft. So really, I'm talking to like the upper 1% of the upper 1% of the people who have finished a thing. And all I'm saying is, hey, I want you to think not only outside the box, but I want you to knock the box down and build different shapes with the pieces. It's to everybody's advantage that you do so. You're going to reach a bigger audience. It's going to be more accessible. You're going to have different tools to your advantage. It's going to be new and uncharted territory, so you won't have a benchmark to measure against, but that's often really good because that way you won't know when you're totally messing it up. Just do that. Cool? Cool. That was delightful spice. Thank you for that. All right, before we jump to the last set of questions, any questions in chat as I watch my viewer count plummet? Twitch, YouTube, Zoom. Anybody? Yahtzee? Well, in the interim, while you're thinking of questions, I will plug.
You're listening to the Wednesday Writers Chat. Thanks for putting this in your ears and choosing to improve your art.
Good plug. Thanks, Aaron. It is a lot to think about and digest, and I encourage you to do so. That's why it's very, I get it. So I have this strange relationship to people listening to me. I'm desperate for attention. I didn't get many hugs as a child, and I get even fewer now as an adult, which is fine. Don't touch me. But I'm desperate for attention, and the 7 or 6 2/3 second delay in Twitch really throw me, because I'll say something and I'll think like, oh my God, people are going to suddenly blow up. And then I forget, like, oh, there's like a little gap. And then also when I drop like a huge like iceberg of like, hey, check this out, it actually takes people a second, because while I've been talking about it for like 5 hours, it's new to you guys. So I always need to temper that. See, this is part of that whole idea of like, take the box that everything else is in and knock it down and make different shapes. So yeah, it is a lot to think about and digest. And maybe I have a faulty expectation that people have like a bucket of questions just like ready to go. Because I often talk to people who swear up and down they have a bucket full of questions, and then they don't. I do want to like shout out to the storm. What up, Stormlord? It's just like a monsoon. It's like hammering the window in a very like reassuring, heavy white noise way. I dig it. I dig it a lot. So I will ask again. Zoom, YouTube, Twitch, questions? I'm going to tell you the next question is technical. Oh, that's my tea. Get out of there. All right. Onward. Question 10. In an MPOV, so in a story with multiple points of view, how do I know which point of view, POV, I should use to write the story's climax? Okay. We're going to have to explain a few things. Now, this is not a bad question, but in order to answer it, we have to set some stuff up. So, in a story where you have more than one point of view character, let's say you're going to jump from character to character. It doesn't matter how many jumps we're making. We're going to assume you have more than 2, right? Even if we just have more than 1, it's fine. But I'm assuming for this moment, based on what I know of the question asker, you're dealing with 3 points of view, which is still a lot. But in a multiple point of view, how do you know which point of view you use to write the story's climax? If you're having multiple points of view, remember that the best way to handle it is to be able to take out each point of view as though it were its own book within a book. If you were just to take the point of view out and stand it alone in its own manuscript or its own Word doc or its own Scrivener file or whatever, it should read as close as possible to a singular contained story within itself. Yes, you can have some crossover and some bleed through as characters team up and bounce off each other. Absolutely. But by and large, each POV should be read as its own self-contained arc. Because a reader will figure out which chapters are Peter Dinklage and just read those because they're more enjoyable. So you can't assume the reader's going to read everything linearly with the same level of like, oh, I love all these things, because they're people, and that's not how people work. But yeah, every POV should have some kind of arc in it, because it's its own story, right? Every POV character should have their own arc, And at some point, some part of their singular point of view character arc should feed into the greater overall plot arc. If you have one A plot, let's just make an example up so we can start clarifying things. Let's suppose you have an A plot of somebody, whoever pulls the sword out of the stone gets to be king. All right? Really heteronormative, really gender binary, really patriarchal, but I'm using it on purpose. So let's suppose we have this, whoever pulls the big metal penis out of the rock gets to be in charge of all the other people. Great. If we have, and when we have multiple points of view, we have the little scrawny kid nobody likes. We have the big strong dude who thinks, he's great. We have a guy who's pure of heart, and we have a wizard. Sure. And we're hopping between all these different people trying to tell different individual stories that all collectively come together. And the big goal that all of them are trying to do is in some way, shape, or form having to do with pulling the giant sword out of the rock. Well, if the majority of our points of view are going to attempt to pull the sword, the little scrawny kid, the big guy, the guy pure of heart, hell, even maybe the wizard tries it, they're all going to do the same actions. So you got to figure out which one of these things is itself climactic for that character. When we have the big giant muscly super knight guy, oh my god, I'm such a big deal, I'm the best. His arc is not necessarily going to be I'm going to be the best. It's not even going to be, it's just I'm a bully. So when he attempts to pull the sword from the stone, that's and he fails, that's not the same kind of emotional climax or growth for the character because he's not framed that way. He's a bully. So his arc, his climax in the story should be built around him being a bully and either learning not to be a bully or embracing it and leaning into it and then getting his comeuppance later. But that's not the same as, say, the little scrawny kid who's constantly picked on for the entire book, and then all of a sudden he realizes, like, oh, I just need to get a sword, so I'm just going to take that sword out of that rock. And his arc is itself the big thing in the Disney movie, but his arc is just I'm a good kid, and I'm doing the right thing. And the fact that it's pull the giant metal penis out of the rock is incidental. And the only reason we know, oh my god, that's the big high moment of the Disney movie is because the Disney movie frames him as the sole protagonist. But if we jump around like we do in the original OG French stories, then every character goes through their own journey. It's just that some of the stages in that journey are the same scenes. Not at the same time, but everybody has a sword pulling scene, which sounds dirtier now that I say it that way. But everybody tries to pull the sword out of the stone. Some people do it early in their arc. Some people do it later. Some people do it as the height of their thing because that's their ultimate goal. Other people are just like, screw it, I'm going to go back and go off and fight that other lady and fall in love with her and then do it and then fight a giant or something. Those individual points of view should have their own internal climaxes. The overall story climax isn't really there in a multiple point of view when everything's so disparate. The A plot is somebody's going to get the sword. Somebody's going to be the king by the end of the book. Somebody's going to get the big pointy metal sword chair. Somebody's going to rule the kingdom. But past that, if the entirety of the book isn't focused on that, because we have all these different, as we mentioned earlier with that scope element, we've zoomed out because we've got all this other stuff going on because you got to see how creative I am as a writer because I have all these pieces up in the air and all these plates spinning. Not everything's always going to immediately and solely lens towards this one goal. So it's a goal for one character, and that's their climax. And some other character has another goal, and that's their climax. And some other character has a different goal, and that's their climax. And you can have multiple climaxes and multiple points of view because essentially every point of view is a small story unto itself. So it's not like you need to single one point of view out to frame the entire story's climax. By the way, if you can do that, the editorial question is, well, why isn't this the point of view character for the entire story? Really, if you have a singular story climax, why on earth do we have multiple points of view? Why wouldn't they just be... I mean, they can be secondary characters who we don't follow in point of view, and we still get to watch the little scrawny kid pull the sword out of the rock. But we don't need the point of view of all these other characters, do we? We can follow them in third person and not get their direct point of view. We don't need to go inside their heads. Consider that within this question sits several slight misunderstandings, just enough off-center to be a little bit messy when it comes to multiple points of view. When you think about multiple points of view, I want you to think about the most stereotypic gemstone possible with different facets. And every point of view is a different facet. And they're all looking towards or looking through this gem to the gem's interior, to the inside, to the same shared stuff. I'm rotating, I'm changing point of view, I'm changing point of view. They're all sort of related. When that isn't how you're writing, because there's multiple ways to do multiple points of view. Sometimes you just have like a big-ass kingdom with 15 people talking, and they all kind of want different stuff. Well, they're not all going to be the same gemstone. But then you've got to figure out why you're telling so many disparate stories in one manuscript. But every point of view, because we're following them, should have their own composition, have their own development, have their own conflict, have their own climax and their own resolution, and leave it to the reader to sort of piece together what the hell you're talking about and what you mean in terms of what the story's climax is. Because in multiple point of view, you have multiple stories based on each point of view. So your question is not as straightforward as it would appear. But it is a good question. Thank you for asking it. All right, let's check in with people. Everybody good? Yeah? Because that was it. Now we're down to the gentle, nice, quiet part of the evening. Because it's time for many people's favorite part. Is that fair to say? Many people's? Yeah. Gentle advice. And I have picked 2 intentionally spicy questions for gentle advice. Gentle advice. Why am I getting so little engagement from the hashtag writing community? Yep, see, oof, that is an appropriate response. Oof. Okay. The hashtag writing community. Hang on. Let's just get that across. The hashtag writing community is real big, with loads of people. And it loves to give the impression that there's like 5 people and we're all best friends. And that's not the case. Because a lot of those people in the writing community frequently, dramatically, step all over each other rather than support one another. Or the support is very limited. So long as it doesn't conflict with my agenda, I will totally support you. So say a lot of people. The reason why you're not getting a lot of engagement from the writing community is sort of like, well, there's a million fish in the sea. They're all doing their own thing. And you can get totally lost. A little group, might pick up on it. Your friends, the people you immediately know, the people you have immediately told. But the larger community as a whole, first of all, I don't even know how big it is. It's huge. It's very catty. Oh, it's super catty. It's the worst part of the worst parts of high school. It's the worst parts of every mean girl table at the cafeteria. It's the worst part of every frat house. It's social politicking ratcheted up because of an emotional vulnerability with creativity, as well as people having some of the worst boundaries humanly possible. So what you're doing is you are lobbing pennies into what you're being told is just a fountain, but is in fact an ocean. And that's why no one's finding your penny. Because you're just one person putting out one thing. And if you want some evidence, I have 2,800 Twitter followers. And there are, at present, 5 people in this chat. I have over 300 clients. I've been doing this for 2 decades. And there are 5 people in this chat. Engagement is a social construct, just like gender. Engagement is a manufactured measure for how we do things. If we did things solely for engagement, I got to tell you, I'd probably be figuring out some way to like do porn and drink root beer, because I bet I can get more attention for that. But the function of my writing and supporting the writing community and supporting writers is not to get that much attention, though I love and crave attention badly some days. But you're asking a group of people who are all trying to do the same thing as you to stop what they're doing and pay attention to you. Hey, I know you guys are writing books. Hey, I know you guys are writing books. But hey, look, I wrote this book. Yeah, they're all there for it. And now, because scarcity dominates cattiness, if I stop doing what I'm doing, and I stop telling you about, oh my God, my characters, they love coffee. Or, oh my God, here's my character's favorite summer song. Or whatever other inane, I would much rather watch paint drying level question they're dealing with that day. They're going to drop that so they can talk to you? No. People are, by and large, for the most part, pretty selfish without some kind of motivation. So you are asking people who live in little bubbles, who are desperate for an echo chamber more so than a challenge. Yet again, I point to the 5 people in this chat. To be challenged. You're not going to get engagement. Don't worry about engagement. Just produce your work. Market it. Keep going. Unceasingly, like the wind. And it is a volume issue. It is a snowball rolling downhill. We don't want to stop and go, hey, look, a snowball. It's, oh my God, there are so many snowballs rolling down this hill. You are just a relentless producer because you love to produce, because you are not producing so that you get a pat on the head and you get the engagement. You are producing because the goal of production is to put a story in people's hands, because they're not going to know you did it until you tell them. And you're producing for them more than you. When you hunt for engagement, you're trying to sate you. You're just telling yourself that you're doing it for them or through them. But that's to calm you. But if you produce a work, here's your story, here's the cover, here's a pitch, here's a teaser, here's a trailer, here's some audio clips, here's some marketing, here's some whatever it is you're doing, and you just keep doing it, and you do it to progressively larger and larger and different numbers of people, rather than telling the same 25 people in the hashtag writing community to pay attention to you, you will eventually get some results. And then you just keep doing it, at least until we radicalize the system. But that's a different conversation for a different day. You got to be in Discord for that one. But you're getting so little engagement because you're pushing against the worst kind of social politicking. People in the hashtag writing here. All right, look. You ready? Ready? Here's the thing. People in the hashtag writing community don't give a shit about community and are disinterested in writing. Okay? They're just there to chat. They're there to socialize. They're there to get attention. They're there to get people to tell them how great they are. Live in a little bubble. Complain about a few things. Move on with the day. They don't give a shit about community. Because most of the time community involves supporting other people, maybe giving them some money, maybe helping people develop better skills, maybe talk about how to improve their craft. Maybe instead of repeating the same 5 listicles, they actually want to do something different. Community involves support and giving a shit about other people, and empathy is scarce. And they certainly don't give a shit about writing because they keep trotting out the same 5 listicles and the same silly tropes, and they keep engaging in the same pointless pit mads and the same stupid things. Oh, I'm a mentor. Well, who gives a shit? I know, YouTube, I'm swearing. I will hear about it in the email later. I know. They don't care about community, and they don't really give a shit about writing. That's why they're never talking about, hey, how can I get better at this thing? They want to tell you, well, tell me about your character. Tell me about who gives a shit. What are some better writing community questions? What's your worst example of passive voice? What's something you learned from your first 25 days of marketing? What's a mistake you saw somebody else make that made such a profound impression on you it changed the way you write? Who are 3 people you would go to the minute you finish your book who aren't also writers? Actual, thought-provoking, engaging questions. They don't ask. They want to know, like, what your characters would do in XYZ situation because they're just more interested in chatting. The masturbation and performance of being a writer is better than the writing itself. They don't care. That's why you're getting so little engagement. You're asking the circus clowns to be the high wire act. They're just not there for it. That's why. Last one. Gentle advice. I wrote this whole 70,000 word story, and I'm not sure I have any themes, and I'm not sure I have enough tension. What do I do? Fix it. Fix it. That's what you do. Here's how. Let's start with attention, because that's a slightly easier fix than themes. Go back through your plot. Is your main character ever challenged? Like legit challenged. Not just like, oh, they do this thing and it sounds real bad, but then they dispatch the problem with like such ease that it's disgusting. Oh my God, you're going to go fight 20 people? And then 2 paragraphs later, I fought 20 people without barely a scratch on me. Tension. The possibility of failure. The possibility of harm. The possibility of danger. The chance that things could go less than perfect. Tension. The idea that you don't know how the ending is going to be. This unknown element persists. Maybe it's uncomfortable. Maybe it's, will they kiss? Are they moving their faces? I hope they kiss. I hope. Are they going to hold hands? Are they going to admit their feelings for each other? Oh, so close. Tension. An unresolved thing that persists. How do you find those moments? You identify them in your story. You go look at your outline. Now, if you're about to tell me, but John, I don't have an outline. Go make an outline. Where were you on Monday when I was yelling at people to go make an outline? And if you're really serious about this, you'll have an outline. If you don't have enough tension, you're not challenging your characters enough, and they're not clearly defined. Tension matters. You can add tension. You can affect the stakes. You can reduce the ease of skills. You don't have to automatically swing the pendulum and go, I'm only in danger if there's a million bad guys and I'm just one me. You can yo-yo those ratios and control things and move things forward. You can affect tension by creating more dynamic characters and having there be harder choices and slowing things down so that you're not just showing off how well you can write an action sentence. You can increase tension by changing how the scenes happen. That's the easy fix here. The harder one is themes. If you don't have themes, it's not going to work. Flat out. A theme is an idea that a reader can take from your story and say, I've learned something from my own life. I've learned how to be more, let's say your theme is resilience, or your theme is found family, or your theme is overcoming overwhelming obstacles. When your reader goes away from your book and they're faced in their own life with the possibility of overwhelming obstacles, or reconciling this idea of found and lost family, or standing up for the little guy, or whatever it is your theme is, they can look to your book, not right away, because that's not how life works, but they can look at your story and go, that's an example of somebody, even a made-up somebody, doing it. It's a lesson I can take into my own life. If you don't have that in your story because you got too busy for too long in your story just telling me what made up people did, so that there's no real entry point for a reader to come along and connect with things. You've made a nice story, but you have not written a book. You have done the writing exercise. You've produced a lovely trunk novel. You've made a nice draft. You wrote the hell out of whatever prompt it was, but it is not a publishable novel because you have failed in the fundamental necessity of letting your reader attach to the story. They're not coming to the book because they are specifically looking for a story where a made-up being accomplishes made-up tasks in a made-up place. They're looking for something to move and affect them. They're looking for something that makes a difference in their day, something they can enjoy, something they can escape into, something they can care about. And a recitation of facts. There's this person, they live here, they do this, they have this superpower, they accomplish this, they fight this thing, end of book. Does, on only a few levels, bring some kind of satisfaction, but once it's done, it's disposable. It's, I can just hand it off and I'll never think twice about it because it's just, oh, well, yeah, that happened. It's sort of like, you ever play Pac-Man? There are not a lot of themes in Pac-Man. It's just a matter of waka, 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 waka until we eat pills and then ghosts go. Like, that's not a theme. The theme would come from the player. The persistence of trying to set the high score and trying to, play the game so many times until the ROM resets. Like, the theme is greater than the context of the narrative. And if you're only ever churning out narrative, this happened to this made-up person and they have this adventure and it's really great. Okay. Excellent. I hate to tell you this, but if you went into any elementary school and asked kids to tell you a story, they'd do exactly the same thing. And if that's what you're aiming for, sweet. Good for you. You've done it. But if you're really looking to stand out, you're really looking to build a career, you're really looking to forward that agenda, you're really looking to have that big, giant, mega super success you talk about, themes are critical, which means you need to know what they are. So what lessons do the characters learn? What example for the reader are the characters and their struggles? Okay, so your character is Batman. Okay. They're a vigilante, incredibly wealthy. Sure, great. What should the reader take away from this other than you were really good at making Batman? What's the lesson? Why should this story persist in my brain? Why should I care after the book's done? Themes help a story persist and live on. Themes are part of the palette of tools that allow a story to affect us long term, so that when we go, man, I still think about that story, or I recommend this book to everybody, or man, you got to check this thing out. It's because of how the theme affected you. It's because of how the ideas affected you. It isn't just because, oh, there was this one scene on page 106 where there was like a nail gun. Oh, okay. But that didn't past that. Why should I care? Why should I invest? Why should I give you my time and focus and energy? Because of the themes. Themes are the underpinning of story. If you don't have themes, you can, squish them in, but they're going to feel really superficial. Sort of like somebody wearing a really bad toupee. It'll just stand out ever so much. Honestly, real talk, real gentle advice, start over. Start over. Especially if you're lacking themes and tension. Here's a new blank page. You can tell the same story again, just do better this time. Or you can tell me a different story. You didn't make a mistake. You didn't waste your time. You're not a failure. You wrote a trunk novel. Congrats. You are further along the writing journey. You are further along in becoming a better writer. You've done a hard thing, and I'm proud of you. But if you're missing the fundamental underpinnings of story because you get hung up on the fact that you're just too busy telling us stuff, blank page, try again. Themes matter. Tension's fixable. We can modulate tension. We can teach you how to write a better scene. We can build that stuff. That's fine. Themes are bigger. Themes are organizational. Themes have to do with you making decisions long before you sat down to write chapter 1. You need to be cognizant of it. You need to be aware of it. It needs to be present. So what would you do? Start over. It's going to be a lot easier. You're not going to like it, but the world is full of things we have to do that we don't like. Happens all the time. All right. That's it. That's all I have. That's my entire sheet of questions. Twitch, YouTube, Zoom, I see you, Zoom, Twitch, YouTube, Zoom. Questions? Questions? Anybody? Anything? You got one. 1 sec. Yeah, no problem. I'm hanging right out. Would you like intermission music? Can themes be laced into an outline? Hell yes. Themes should totally be laced into an outline. Hell yes. You want to be able to identify your scenes in terms of theme. This is the scene where, we learn about perseverance. This is, there's one scene isn't going to cover the entirety of a theme. It's going to be, multiple scenes working together. But yes, you should be able to identify in your outline, in your note cards with your scene list, hey, this is a scene about theme, just like you can do it with an arc. This is one of the scenes where the character learns to be less of a jerk. Absolutely, you can lace them into your outline. Here, have this. Great question. How big a trunk should I buy for the trunk novels? I'm a big fan right now of Sterilite, like the big heavy-duty ones with the handles. Hell yes. Hell yes. When a round of edits on a section of your manuscript is finished, is it better to keep going or circle back around to that section? When you say circle back around, do you mean rewrite the thing you just got? What does circle back around mean? Reread it, check it again. Okay. Oh, okay. Now I understand. No. I mean, you can. First of all, it's a free universe. You are free to do that if you want. But that's going to really slow you down. Because if you keep going back over and over, let's say you do one section, right? Section number 1. And then you send that off. And while section number 1 is being worked on, you move on to section number 2. And then you get section number 1 back. And you go back over section number 1. What about section number 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 that need to be written? They're going to get written. I know, I hear you. I hear you talking to the monitor. You're going to write them eventually. But the more you circle back on the thing you just got back again and again and again, the longer it's going to take you. What you need to do is write it, send it off, move to the next. Send it off, move to the next. Get everything all assembled all at once, then go back. It's not about making it perfect in its individual parts. It's about building the best overall by aggregate. So go through the story one thing at a time. Then compile all the done stuff. Then go back through all at once, because by the time you do that, you will have the freshest, readiest chops to go back to that first section after you've written 25. I'm making up numbers. But you'll be raring to go to that first one, and you'll really be able to look at it and go, oof, I'm going to just do better now because I've learned so much from writing all these other sections. Don't get stuck in a cul-de-sac trying to make one section perfect, air quotes, before moving forward. Get in the habit of moving forward and then coming back in long stretch passes. It's going to be a heck of a lot easier for you in the long term. Cool. Part 1's nearly finished. That's awesome. Good for you. But go do part 1 and then move on to part 2 and then get into part 3, because ultimately the end result is the complete big picture. I always worry You're welcome. I always worry when writers send me like version 2 and version 3 of a single chapter instead of moving forward in the story, because I really worry that we'll never get to, like, you send me 5 perfect versions of chapter 5 and we haven't gotten to chapter 6 yet, and I really want to get to 6 because that's got a bigger story problem for you. I always worry when somebody gets hung up on the small stuff. Like, it doesn't need to be perfect before we move on. This is not clear your plate before you get dessert. You can leave, we can scrape the vegetables off to the side. We can move on and move forward and then come back later. It doesn't need it. None of this is going to ever be perfect, so we don't need to hyper micromanage it and try to force it to be perfect before we go forward. It's going to be fine. Remember, we're dealing in big picture aggregate. Good question. Anybody else? Anything? Zoom, you've been very quiet lately. I'm a little concerned. Are you doing something naughty? Yes, you. I'm talking to you. Right there, you. What are you doing? You were doing dishes. That's legit. I'll take that. It's less naughty than I like, but hey, dishes got to get done. I feel you. YouTube? Hey, what you doing? You good? You're gonna let Zoom and Twitch dominate like that? Okay, that's cool. Sometimes we just hang out. That's cool. I dig it. I'm gonna go do that elsewhere. Twitch. Friends, followers, subscribers. That's so wild saying that. Questions? If you're writing as a hobby, how do people decide if they should try to publish something? Wow, there's a lot of like people going on in that sentence. If I'm writing as a hobby, how do people decide? Oof. I think you mean if you're writing as a hobby, how do you know when you should publish? Well, does the idea of being published interest you? You just, if you're interested in publishing something, go publish something. Just publish something. 99 cents. Free. $1. Whatever. How do you decide? Do you want to do it? Not, if I do this, will people like it? Nah, who knows? You can't control that. And that's not why we get into something creative like this. We do it because we love to do it. We do it because we know if we keep doing it, we'll get better at it. We do it because we enjoy doing it. Publishing, like we talked about early on, publishing is not the end result. It's just the next stage in the race. So you decide you're going to publish, first of all, one, if the thing's done, that really, really helps. Nope, do not publish incomplete things. Even online, even in like blog form. Nope, don't do it. Don't do it. Hey, guess what? Don't do it. Publish complete things. And decide to publish it if you want to put it out into the world. You don't have to charge for it. It's fine. You don't have to charge. Just put it out in the world. Yes, even serial novels. You want it complete so that you can just schedule the serialization however you want. Even serial novels. If you do publish, hire me. Absolutely. I'm a delight, apparently. I'm amazing. Ooh. Oh, you just made my day. Holy shit, you made my day. I'm amazing. You should come hang out on the Discord. I'll be amazing all day long. I'm amazing in multimedia most days. I am, in fact, an excellent... I really appreciate that. Thank you. I do my best. Especially with streaming, I think this is the best work I've done in 20 years. But if you want to publish, you do it because you want to. Not because, I want people to like it. I want people to know I did it. Because, if you just want people to see you've done something, photograph your genitals and charge money for the pictures. Like, that way people will know you've done something. There's so many other ways, so many better ways to get attention like that. But if you want to publish because, oh my God, I wrote this thing and I need to share it with the world because I think it's awesome, and I think you're going to think it's awesome too. Publish it. Just put it out there. The worst case scenario is that, somebody's like, no, I don't like it. Or nobody notices. Let's just hypothetically, let's follow both of those trains of thought, okay? We're going to follow both of those trains of thought. Let's start with the fact that you could put something out into the world and no one notices. I'm assuming you've told people that it's out there. You didn't just put it out there and walk away. That way no one knows what's going on. I'm assuming you've put it out. You've said, hey, go check out my stuff. And for whatever reason, nobody checks it out. What have you learned? You learned that how you told people things were available and who you told you had a thing available aren't the people who are going to be excited about your thing. You have not learned that your thing is bad or that you are bad at it. Because the only way you could figure out that kind of quality is if somebody engaged with it. Silence from the receiving end does not translate into failure of effort. If you did the work, no one can take that away from you. So some level of pride is a given and should be a given. But that's if there's silence. You put it out and you get crickets. There's nothing going on, right? What do? Well, we change to whom we tell. So we go out and find different people to tell, hey, I made a thing. And we change the way we talk about our thing. Hey, this cool thing, I made it. Check it. You change the people and you change the method. And you see if that gets you different responses. When you go from 0 responses to any number of responses, that's good. You can't get any less than none, so you really can't end up in a worse position. But let's go the other way. Let's say you put your thing out and you get some responses and they're bad. They're negative. They're critical. They make you feel stupid. They make you feel like you suck at this. What do? You learn from it. What do we learn from it? Well, one, people on the internet are going to be jerks. That's a definite thing we have to learn. We're going to deal with that in all our work. There's always going to be somebody who doesn't like it because it's not our job to make everybody happy. Now, if you're like me, that might have been the job you assumed you had to do when you were a little kid, and you just thought everybody needed to be made happy so that you could survive, because that's what child abuse is like. But that's different than making a thing and having somebody go, this thing sucks. All right, bro, I didn't make it for you. You're not my audience. Thanks so much for telling me. It's up to you whether you internalize their feedback, their comment, their criticism, their hatred, their vitriol, and to what degree. I don't know if you know this, but I get a great deal of hate. People come at me all the time because I'll say things like PitMat sucks, or the hashtag writing community is a trap, or that agents are pimps, or any number of other things that I am no longer allowed to say on Twitch because of terms of service, but I will say them quite loudly in a Discord. I get hate. Some of it's fun. Some of it's terrible. Some of it bugs me, and then I go to therapy, and I feel better slightly about it. But it's not my job to make everybody happy. So when I put something out and I get feedback, I try and see if that feedback has anything in it for me that I can do something with. Like if I get bad feedback, like, oh, this thing wasn't any good, the characters really sucked, the plot was boring. Okay. If that's just one person saying it, that's just their opinion. Maybe if somebody else comes along and says the same thing. Now I've got multiple people telling me like, the characters are a little weak. So now I know to go forward, I can work on my characters. And I can look for different people and different toolboxes and different ideas to help me make better characters. So I've taken this negative experience, this negative feedback, and rather than sit there and stare at it like, oh, this sucks, I suck, I wasted my time, I'm looking at it like, no, I've learned something. I got to get better at this. Okay. That stuff sucks. It hurts. You know what I'm going to do? I'm not going to look at the screen like a million times because it's not going to change. I'm going to move forward, though. And that's a hard thing. You got to be real brave to deal with that. That takes real guts. So when you do that, when you make that decision, give yourself... Thanks, Linus, for stepping on the polka button. Give yourself some air horns. Give yourself some praise. Give yourself some credit. You're making a conscious decision to not just persist in the negative, but you're going to do something about it. So you sit there and you do something about it. Okay, I got some really crappy feedback. It sucked. But they said I got to make stronger characters. So my next thing, because there's going to be a next thing, because those people aren't in charge of when I quit. I'm in charge of when I quit, and I'm not quitting. So my next thing, I'm going to make better characters. How do I do that? I go look for tools and stuff that help me make better characters. Pretty straightforward. And yes, if you come back here, we will cheer you on. I don't know if you're on the Discord. Well, I want to make sure you get a Discord invite. Somebody figure out who this person is and see how we can get them on the Discord. Cool. Bring them home. Yes, bring them into the house. Make sure they wipe their feet. We'll be fine. So, let's suppose you put it out there and you get feedback. And it's okay. It's not terrible, it's not mean, it's not bad, but it's just kind of like, it's okay. Story's good. 3 stars, 3 out of 5. It's good. Yeah, it's fine. I hate fine. I have lived with and dated people, and when, you know, I do something or make something or say something like, oh, that's fine. Oh, that hurts, man. Oh, that's like cracking my chest open again. That's just, oh, nope, fine. Oof. It's vague as hell. And when you get that vague stuff, and believe me, you're going to get that vague stuff, you just keep doing what you're doing. And that's really hard. It's really difficult. Because you're going to want more information. Like, well, what did you like about it? Well, what about this? And they're not going to be able to do that because most people don't think about it that way. They're not into it as much as you are. They're not organized the way you are. But you have to remember that when you publish a thing, you're in charge of it. You tell people about it. You don't tell people about it. You get to choose who you tell about it. You get to choose how you tell them about it. You get to choose whether or not you continue writing after this thing. There is nothing saying that you couldn't, let's say, publish this one thing you wrote, let it hang out for 6 months. I'm making up numbers. Just let's say 6 months, half a year. And see if it gets anywhere. See if there's a sale. See if there's comments. See if there's nothing. And if after 6 months, the volume of response, the quantity of responses isn't what you want, or the quality of responses isn't what you want, pull it down. Take it down. Try again if you want. But those decisions are always on you. They're just for you. No one else can take them from you, and you shouldn't offer them to other people. They're yours because it's your work. So how do we decide we're going to do a thing? We just say, hey, we're in this job for the long haul. We're doing this to do this. And this is the thing we got to do. Great question. Love that. Love that so much. All right. Other questions? Yeah, we really should help out that new guy. Unless he's not a new guy and he's just somebody with a name I don't know, which is very, very likely. Everybody, all you kids in your internet names, I don't, weird. I just feel old when that happens. But anyway, other questions, other issues, other comments as the storm rages outside. No? Yes? Should we go to the outro? Are we there? Is it time? Should we outro? You want polka? You can have polka. Go ahead. Have polka while I sip more water. Did you enjoy your polka? That's good because we're going to the outro. Oh, man. That was awesome. What a great night. Thank you for joining me for Spicy Evening. It was delightful. Thank you for letting me just garbage dump on PitMad because I want you to do better than that. Thanks for letting me talk about themes and outlines and organizing. And hey, person, thanks for coming by. I really appreciate it. I hope you come back. I would love to have you come back. I'd love to have you ask more questions. I would love to help you succeed the way you want to succeed. Thanks, everybody, for hanging out. I really appreciate it. The next time we will talk, oh, man. Let's see. The next time we will talk, because now we're in September, right? Will be, oh, man, Labor Day? September the 6th? That's next Monday. I'm going to be right here talking about pitching. Better make graphics for that and stuff, shouldn't I? Man, I'll work on that this weekend. So the next time I'll see you right here on Twitch, Monday. The next time we'll have a writer's chat, oh man, the next time we'll have a writer's chat is Wednesday the 8th, which is my mom's birthday, by the way. So we'll have to do something nice for my mom. Maybe I'll get special intro music. But yeah, thanks everyone for being here. I will see you guys next week. Remember, all power to all people. I love you. I care about you. You guys are really talented. You're good enough to write. You're good enough to keep going. Please, please, please don't give up. Please wear a mask and wash your hands and get vaccinated. I'm not going to fight you about science because science is science. But I want you to take care of yourselves because I want you guys to come back and I want you to stay alive and do well and make the world a better place that you want to be in. Because you matter and I matter and everybody matters and we need to do our best to make a world something survivable that we can be proud of. Because otherwise we are no worse than the people who get us down. And remember, butts! I love you all. Let's get out of here. See ya!